How are y'all doing? I'm Seth with According to Seth.
Hi,
Hi.
Seth, with according to
Hey.
Seth.
Perfect. I actually saw
Very
your
cool.
guys' film at Fantastic Fest. I know I met you, Andra, and Mercedes for a few seconds there, and I absolutely loved the movie. So congrats on all the success here. And how did the premiere go last night at the Brooklyn Film Fest?
Good. Crowd is electric, like it has been. So it's been fun to see people enjoying the chaos that we've all made.
That's awesome. So the first question I had here is actually for you, Mercedes. When reading the script, what was the moment that you knew you had to take on the story? And after filming this, was there anything that you learned about directing that will help you in future projects?
Ooh, I like these questions. There's a moment, there is a plot twist that happens about 35, 40 minutes in the movie that I will not say, but when everyone sees it, they gasp really loud in the theater and go, oh, they didn't. And I also had the same reaction when reading it. And that's when I thought, I am having a visceral reaction from this. I must make this movie. And then I think something that I learned about directing from this is, let's see, probably just tenacity of loving something for a long time because you're exhausted, you go into it for every day, you go through the editing process, you go through test screenings and still going, I care about this just as deeply the entire time because you just have to keep caring. And I think I knew that on other projects, but especially this one, all-nighters are exhausting. So
Yeah, I'm sure. And especially it looked like it was cold at some scenes. So
yes. Yeah.
um Alex, Marco, and Andra, you guys were unbelievable in this, and so was Maddie. What was it about the script that drew you all to this project? And do each of you have a favorite moment on set?
Go on, eh?
Me?
Let's go
Okay.
in alphabetical order.
Oh, okay. No pressure. Let's see. What drew me to the script? I originally went out for the role of Sage. So I went in with that mindset of just reading her character, but the entire time I think there was a point where I literally said, "Oh, fuck." I was gonna bleep myself, but I didn't.
It's okay.
And it was just so chaotic and so many twists and just so unexpected in every possible way that I was like, I want to be in this, but I also really want to be Sin. Like I want to be Sin so badly. Worked out that I got to play Sin. So that was just a wonderful experience to go through. And I think one of my favorite moments on set, it changes because every day was just so lovely with these incredible people and Maddie and everyone at LD and our the crew. Um, but I think it was honestly the aftermath. Like every time I'd go home, I would just be covered in blood and dirt and just looking so crazy. And sometimes I just didn't have the patience to like wash it off because I was also covered in like layers of spray tan so I could have this tan. And I'd walk into my lobby like just covering my hands, like please no one like look up or have any questions. And I'd get like three of the large Kit Kats and just go upstairs and munch on them. And I did that every night and just like it was my unwinding moment. And I loved that. But it was just because it was so much fun on set every day that it was like, okay, how do I like come up from like come up from
Hmm.
that? It was my Kit Kats.
That's awesome. Marco?
For me, it's something. It's always, every time I read a script and I reach a point or there's a scene or there's a moment that I don't know how to do, I want to do it. And I think there's a moment that I can. It's a spoiler, but there is a moment in the script that, as an actor, I was like, I don't know how to pull this out. Like, I don't know how to do this. I don't see it right away, and that's when I was like, okay, I want to do it, just because. That's when I think that's when you challenge yourself, and that's when you learn something, and that's when you grow as an artist and as an actor. So for me, it was one specific scene from this film, which is such a big plot twist and it's so absurd and it's so surreal that you're like, how do I make this real, bring truth into it, and keep people, following the story? So for me, it was that specific scene. And then, Mercedes said this before, and it's so true. Just get together with people that you admire and you like, as artists. And so I watched Mercedes films, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. I really want to, talk to her. She has a voice. She has a strong vision, and and all this. And I've worked with the producers before in the past film, so I knew I was surrounded by talented people and beautiful people, and it was going to be a beautiful experience. And indeed, it really was.
That's awesome. Alex?
Yeah, so my first read of it, the script on its own is just like so shocking at like various different moments. And we read a lot of scripts, and sometimes it's an ordeal to get through a script, and this script was just kept turning each page. But there was so many different ways that the movie could be done. There's like a really bad version of this movie, and then there's a really fun version of this movie. And talking to Mercedes and seeing what her approach was going to be, and that it was going to be able to go to the places that it did end up going to, and that we were going to push it and really kind of like make it fun and campy, and but also have ultimately like some kind of a comment on relationships and on modern relationships and sex politics, gender politics, and all of that kind of stuff. But it's ultimately it's just an absolutely wild ride, and this is all thanks to Mercedes really for just making this movie the best version of itself.
Did you?
And I like to say I knew she'd do
it. Did you have a favorite moment on set as well?
Favorite moment on set. Look, there's a lot of spoilers that could potentially be given away.
Yeah.
There's a point in which in the movie in which things just really unleash.
Yep.
And kind of shooting all of those moments. There was a real kind of freedom on set and just like a playfulness on set. In the midst of all of this gore and everything, and so it's kind of just in general most days that post shift of the movie when stuff goes crazy.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I loved about this film is the way it kind of handles, the social conventions and politeness and how it challenges each character's idea of what a relationship should be and the strengths of a relationship. So was there something each of you took away from this project that you learned about yourself that will help you in your personal life or future projects?
Yes. If you're ever double booked in an Airbnb, just get the fuck out of there. Let's just go. Just run.
Just run. Mercedes?
I think that it's been really interesting because I'll do test screenings with people we did big, massive test screenings, but I probably Zoomed with 100 individuals and couples. And so talking to couples about it, I think I learned about how couples interact with each other because you could really tell by how they analyze the movie. And so I think I just understood relationship dynamics on a whole new level.
That's awesome. Andre?
I think definitely echo what Marco said. Just leave. Don't put yourself through the trouble. But I think for me on a personal level, I walked away with a lot of confidence in myself that I might not have had. And just as an overall like takeaway, I think just really highlighting the importance of communication with your partner and just, having those conversations that might be hard to have and seeing where you guys stand and discussing them. And not giving into temptation because the grass isn't greener on the other side. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Alex?
And I learned that electric cars make it really difficult to get away from a house.
Especially if you unplug the plug.
Yeah, especially.
That's awesome. Obviously Halloween's next week, so I had to ask, what's everyone's favorite Halloween or horror movie and your go-to watch for spooky season?
I
Well,
don't.
mine is Nightmare on Elm Street, but I've already said that, and that's boring. But I'm going to be watching that again.
I love that.
I have an unconventional tie. I love mostly every horror movie, but the Freaks is one of my favorites of all time because you could never make that movie again. But then I also say Eighth Grade isn't a horror movie, but it's terrifying. So I also like movies that are just scary on a human level.
Yep. Andre, you said you don't watch horror movies?
I I didn't until recently because now I'm like, you know what? It's because I can't do the gore. Like I get so queasy. But now that I've gotten to like be part of it and see that it's not real, my brain's like, okay, we can watch some horror movies. So I have a list. So we'll see. I'm learning from everyone here what I need to watch because I haven't seen any of these.
I'm the same. I'm really learning. In Brazil, we don't have many horror films. It's not really a thing. We don't have Halloween to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's just like it was something that I discovered after I moved here, and I'm like still trying to catch up with all the horror films that are there, and 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 how much people appreciate it. I love it. We went to Fantastic Fest. It was such a beautiful experience because I was like different from any other film festivals. People are there just to have fun. They're not there to judge the film or to say if it's good or bad. They just want to have a good time, and that's like an amazing feeling. But I do have a lot to learn about horror films.
Yep. Mercedes, this film goes from 0 to 60 real fast. It builds the tension perfectly and just goes full pedal with some insane twists, and that score is pulse pounding. So, as a director, how hard is it to find that sweet spot and kind of like understand how to take the audience on the perfect ride and when it's time to really ramp things up?
Totally. I think these guys were kind of mentioning earlier, but we did different takes of every scene because I really believe in having options of, okay, when do we guess things at a certain point and when do we not? And how much is it too far or really fun to be really wild with this? And so we did that for every character of how much they're fed up with this shit or, with Will and Sen of how wild and fun we're gonna make them. And it's cool because a lot of the really wild and intense stuff, we went, yeah, we can go here. And so it was kind of giving ourselves the options and then being able to choose them.
I love that. So last question I have for you guys. So I use movies as a way to connect with people. I think it's like the perfect way to help bridge the gap. So is there one movie that you recommend to people, each of you, that you use as a way for them to kind of get to know you and understand you better as a person? You can go first, Mercedes.
I'd say it's very different from horror movies, but Amelie, because I was that shy kid who loved art and wanted to connect with people. And so I feel like if people want to understand me, they should watch Amelie.
I love that. Marco?
Um,
Oh, Alex, go.
mine's kind of like the because I'm English and I often meet people that are American and I like to kind of show them a little bit of of something English. So I usually I'll usually show them This Is England by Shane Meadows, because it's a movie that I feel like represents a time in England that is worth people understanding, and I just love that kind of punk era.
That's awesome. Andre?
I think mine's Interstellar. I really love that movie and I recommend it to anyone. I surprisingly have a lot of friends that haven't seen it. But I've always been so fascinated by sci-fi, space, time, everything outside of our universe. So I love to discuss that one with people.
I'm with you on that. That ending makes me cry every time. I don't know why. I just love that movie.
Every time.
Marco?
I have a film in theaters right now. I'm just kidding. But it's true. It's a very personal story. It's not biographical, but it's a very personal story. Where I produce an act, and it's about a Brazilian immigrant running away from a conservative family who finds himself in Provincetown. And that is not biographical, but it's extremely personal, and it's on theaters now in New York, Los Angeles. So if you want to watch it, call High Tide. But a film that I grew up and that it's always in my mind, it was The Squid and the Whale, Noah Baumbach. I think I grew up in kind of a similar, there's cultural differences, but kind of a similar dynamic in families. And that film really just stayed with me forever and still is.
I love that. Well, thank you all so much for meeting with me today. I wish I had more time. I had some more questions, but next time, enjoy the rest of your day and congrats on this movie. I absolutely loved it. And like I said, it was my favorite out of Fantastic Fest.
Thank you. Nice seeing you
So
again.
much.
Yeah.